In the heart of the Gambia, nestled along the lush green banks of the River Gambia, there was a small village called Konda. This village, like many others, was known for its rich traditions, vibrant culture, and the deep, spiritual beliefs of its people. Life was simple yet full of wonder, with the daily rhythm marked by the sounds of the market, the hum of elders telling stories under the shade of old baobab trees, and children running barefoot through the dusty paths. But amidst the laughter and joy, there was one family that had endured years of silent suffering. The family of Amy and Keba. For years, they had longed for a child. They prayed, they offered sacrifices, and they saw the blessings of the village elders, but nothing seemed to work. The couple had tried everything, from herbal concoctions to charms, but still, no child came. The villagers whispered that perhaps their ancestors had been displeased with them, or that fate simply had other plans. Amy and Keba had nearly given up hope when, after 10 years of marriage, Amy found out she was pregnant. It was as though the heavens had smiled upon them, and the village rejoiced with them. Amy carried the child with joy, dreaming of the day when she would hold her baby in her arms. But the joy was short-lived. When the baby girl, whom they named Sira, was born, the midwife, an elderly woman with deep knowledge of the spiritual world, noticed something strange. Sira's eyes were not the deep brown typical of children in the village. They were an unsettling shade of grey, almost white, and her gaze seemed to pierce through the very souls of those around her. The midwife whispered words under her breath, warning Amy and Keba that their daughter was not an ordinary child. "The spirits of the river have claimed her," she muttered. "She was conceived after years of longing, and the spirits have chosen her to walk the earth between two worlds." At first, the parents dismissed the midwife's words as superstitions. But as Sira grew, it became clear that there was something deeply wrong. Sira's first few years were marked by strange occurrences. She would often speak to invisible people, giggling and looking over her shoulder as if someone was watching her. Her eyes, always a light grey, never quite looked human. And when she cried, it was as though the air around her crackled with a strange energy, as if the world itself trembled in her presence. As she grew older, Sira's beauty became undeniable. By the age of 16, she was the most beautiful girl in the village. Her curves were enchanting, her face a perfect blend of innocence and allure. She was admired by all who laid eyes on her, but the admiration quickly turned to fear. People began to notice the strange aura that seemed to surround her. No one could understand it, but there was something unsettling about Sira. Whenever she walked through the village, children would whisper, their voices trembling. Adults would avoid her gaze, and men, who once admired her, now looked at her with suspicion. The once celebrated beauty of Sira had become a curse. Sira felt it too. She was keenly aware of the stares, the whispers behind her back, and the way people would cross the road just to avoid walking near her. She couldn't understand why people feared her. She had done nothing wrong, yet she felt like an outcast in her own village. Her parents, Keba and Amy, loved her dearly, but they couldn't protect her from the harshness of their community. Amy, desperate to help her daughter, consulted the village's spiritual healer, a man known for his deep connection with the unseen world. The healer, a tall man draped in cowhide robes, sat Sira down and examined her. "She is possessed," the healer said solemnly. "But not by evil. This is not a curse. It is the result of the spirits of the river claiming her. She is their messenger, and they demand a price." The healer explained that Sira was born during a time of spiritual unrest in the village. The river spirits, protectors of the land, had long been angry with the villagers for abandoning the old ways. When Sira's parents prayed for a child, they inadvertently invited the river spirits to intervene. The spirits, however, were not content with just blessing the family with a child. They took Sira as one of their own and possessed her at birth, marking her as their emissary. The curse was not one of malice, but of duty. Sira had been chosen to bridge the gap between the physical world and the spirit world, to carry the messages of the river spirits to the people. But in doing so, she had become a figure of mystery and fear. The healer continued, "The villagers fear what they do not understand. They are afraid because they know that Sira can see into their souls. She carries the power of the river, and the river does not lie. The spirits can show her truths that others cannot bear to see. Sira's heart sank. She never asked for this. She never wanted to be feared. She only wanted to be loved. As Sira grew into a young woman, the situation became worse. Her beauty continued to blossom, but it was tainted by the spiritual power that she could neither control nor escape. She began to see things that others couldn't. She could hear whispers on the wind, feel the emotions of people around her as though they were her own. The river spirit spoke to her in her dreams, telling her of the pain and suffering of the villagers, but also of their desires and secrets. The more she tried to ignore the spirits, the more powerful they became. It was as though the entire village depended on her to heal its broken soul. One evening, while walking along the riverbank, Sira encountered an elder named Baba Jallo, a man known for his wisdom and deep knowledge of the spiritual world. He had heard of Sira's plight and came to offer her advice. "You are not cursed, Sira," Baba Jallo said gently. "You are a gift. The spirits have chosen you because they believe you can restore balance to the village. But you must learn to control the power they have given you. You must become one with the river, not fight against it." "But how can I do that?" Sira asked, her voice trembling. "How can I make them stop haunting me? How can I be free of this?" Baba Jallo smiled kindly. "The answer lies within you. The river has given you power, but it is also your responsibility to understand it. You must listen to its messages, embrace its lessons, and then, when you are ready, you will become the bridge. Not just between the physical and spiritual worlds, but between your people and the river spirits." For the first time in her life, Sira understood. The spirits had not chosen her to make her suffer, they had chosen her because they believed she could heal the land and the people. But to do that, she had to accept her role. The following weeks were transformative for Sira. She meditated by the river, allowing the spirits to guide her. She listened to their whispers, learned from their ancient wisdom, and embraced the power that flowed through her veins. She began to use her gift to help the villagers, speaking to them in ways that seemed to unlock their hearts and minds. Slowly, they began to trust her again. And over time, the fear that once surrounded her began to fade. The villagers no longer avoided her. Instead, they came to her for guidance, for healing, for insight. Sira had found her purpose. The mystery of her possession was finally solved. She was not cursed, nor was she evil. She was a vessel for something much greater, a bridge between the living and the spirits, tasked with bringing peace to her people. Sira became known not just for her beauty, but for her wisdom and kindness. The once feared girl had become a beloved leader in the village, and her story was passed down from generation to generation as a reminder that sometimes, the greatest gifts come with the heaviest burdens. And so, the girl who had been feared and misunderstood found her place in the world, not as a victim, but as a healer and a guide, the emissary of the river spirits, destined to lead her people to a new understanding of life, death, and the spiritual world. And so, under the watchful eyes of the river, Sira's story became a legend whispered across generations. A reminder that sometimes, the greatest burdens carry the greatest blessings.